Davis had been working in the trucking industry for years, transporting goods across the country. He was known for his punctuality and professionalism, which earned him a reputation as one of the best truckers in the business. However, his life was about to take a dark turn that would challenge his resolve. It all started on a stormy night. Davis was tasked with delivering a mysterious cargo to a remote town in the mountains. The company was tight-lipped about the contents of the shipment, heightening his curiosity. As he drove through the winding roads and thick fog, an eerie feeling settled in the pit of his stomach. Around midnight, Davis noticed a pair of headlights approaching fast from behind. A large black semi-truck suddenly overtook him and swerved recklessly, forcing Davis to slam on the brakes to avoid a collision. The other truck disappeared into the darkness ahead, leaving Davis shaken but determined to catch up and find out what was going on. The roads became more treacherous as he climbed higher into the mountains. The rain poured down, and the howling winds seemed to carry whispers of warning. Davis' unease grew, but he pressed on, fueled by his determination to uncover the truth behind the enigmatic cargo. As he reached the outskirts of the remote town, Davis noticed the black semi-truck parked on the side of the road. He pulled over, contemplating whether to confront the driver or not. Just as he was about to step out of his truck, he saw the driver's silhouette approaching through the fog. The driver was a tall, shadowy figure wearing a dark hooded cloak that concealed his face. Davis couldn't make out any features, and his heart raced with anxiety. The figure spoke in a low, chilling voice, warning Davis to turn back and forget everything he had seen. But Davis was not one to be easily intimidated. He demanded answers. The mysterious driver stepped closer, and Davis caught a glimpse of his eyes, glowing with an otherworldly light. The driver reached into his cloak and pulled out an old, weathered book, offering it to Davis. The book appeared ancient, its pages filled with strange symbols and illustrations. "Take this book and leave," the driver said. "It holds the secret you seek, but be warned, once you know the truth, there's no turning back." Curiosity got the better of Davis, and he accepted the book, watching the cloaked figure disappear into the night. He opened the book and began deciphering its contents. The more he read, the more he realized that he stumbled upon something beyond his comprehension. A dark secret that linked the mysterious cargo to an ancient cult and forbidden rituals. Unraveling the mystery consumed Davis. He discovered that the cargo was connected to an ancient artifact, rumored to grant unimaginable power to whoever possessed it. The cult believed that by transporting the artifact to a specific location during a rare celestial event, they could awaken its dormant powers. Davis was torn between the responsibility of stopping the cult and his fear of the consequences of getting involved. Still, he couldn't turn a blind eye to the potential danger posed by the cult's intentions. He knew he had to stop them before it was too late. Determined to thwart the cult's plans, Davis embarked on a perilous journey to unravel their web of secrets. He delved deeper into the ancient book, learning about the cult's history, their rituals, and the consequences of their actions. The more he learned, the more he understood the magnitude of the darkness he was up against. Davis knew he couldn't face the cult alone. He sought the help of an old friend, Jackson, a retired archaeologist with a keen interest in ancient civilizations and occult knowledge. Together, they analyzed the book and deciphered the cult's plans. They found that the cult intended to perform the ritual in an abandoned temple hidden deep within the mountains. As the celestial event drew nearer, Davis and Jackson prepared for their confrontation with the cult. Armed with knowledge, courage, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility, they set out to prevent the cult from awakening the artifact's power. The night of the celestial event arrived, casting an eerie glow over the mountain landscape. Davis and Jackson stealthily approached the temple, concealing themselves behind the shadows. There, they witnessed a gathering of hooded figures performing dark chants and rituals around the mysterious cargo. The artifact rested on a pedestal, and the chanting grew louder and more intense as the celestial event reached its peak. Davis and Jackson knew they had to act quickly. They devised a plan to distract the cult while Davis made a daring attempt to steal the artifact and thwart the ritual. Creeping through the darkness, Davis successfully managed to grab the artifact. But as he did, a deep guttural growl echoed through the temple. The cult members turned their attention to Davis, their eyes filled with fury. Chaos erupted as they chased after him, vowing to reclaim the artifact and punish the intruders. In a desperate attempt to escape, Davis and Jackson split up, leading the cult members on a wild chase through the labyrinthine corridors of the temple. But it was clear that they were outnumbered and outmatched. As the cult closed in on Davis, he stumbled upon an ancient hidden chamber. There, he encountered the true source of the artifact's power, a malevolent entity that had been bound to it for centuries. The entity whispered promises of unimaginable power and knowledge, trying to lure Davis into submission. But Davis resisted, realizing that the entity's intentions were far from benevolent. Summoning his courage, he used the knowledge from the book and the artifact's own power against the malevolent entity, weakening its hold on the artifact. Meanwhile, Jackson managed to find a way to disrupt the cult's ritual by damaging their ritualistic circle. The power of the celestial event began to wane, leaving the cult members disoriented and powerless. With the cult's plans thwarted, Davis and Jackson made their escape from the temple, carrying the weakened artifact with them. The mountain trembled as the malevolent entity raged, unable to break free from the artifact's containment. Davis knew that they couldn't keep the artifact. Its power was too dangerous, and he didn't want to risk it falling into the wrong hands again. Together with Jackson, they sought a way to neutralize the artifact's power permanently. Their journey led them to an ancient ritual site where they performed a ritual to cleanse the artifact of the malevolent entity's influence. The artifact lost its glow, becoming ordinary once more. Davis and Jackson buried it deep within the mountain, far from the reach of anyone who might seek its power. In the aftermath of their ordeal, Davis and Jackson decided to part ways, each carrying the weight of the dark secrets they had uncovered. They knew that some secrets were best left buried in the shadows. But Davis couldn't forget the darkness he had witnessed or the sacrifices made to stop it. He continued his work as a trucker, but now he was always on the lookout for signs of sinister activities during his journeys, ready to intervene and protect the world from the ancient darkness that still lurked in the shadows. And so, Davis' life was forever changed by the terrifying and enigmatic world of cargo transportation, a world he never imagined could be filled with so much intrigue and darkness. It was a dark and stormy night, the rain pouring heavily over the small town of Blackwood. In the midst of this dreary weather, a solitary figure made his way down the deserted streets, hunched under an old tattered coat. This was Sam, a man in his late 30s who worked as a long-haul truck driver. Sam was known for his reliable and punctual service, ferrying goods across the country. However, tonight, he had a peculiar feeling in the pit of his stomach, as if something ominous lurked in the shadows. Ignoring his unease, he pushed onward towards the truck depot. Inside the depot, a group of fellow truckers huddled together, whispering in hushed tones. Sam's arrival caught their attention, and they motioned him to join them. They seemed troubled, and as he drew near, they revealed a grim tale that had been circulating amongst the trucking community. A series of mysterious disappearances had plagued the area over the past few months. Several truck drivers had vanished without a trace while transporting valuable cargo. Rumors of a sinister presence haunting the highways spread like wildfire. The authorities were baffled, unable to find any leads or clues. Sam felt a chill run down his spine, but he dismissed it as mere coincidence. He couldn't let fear get in the way of his livelihood. As the night wore on, he bid his colleagues goodbye and headed towards his parked truck. The rain showed no signs of abating, and he knew he had a long, treacherous journey ahead. On the road, Sam's unease grew with each passing mile. The once familiar route now seemed eerie and unfamiliar. The heavy rain reduced visibility, and the only sounds that cut through the silence were the monotonous hum of his truck's engine and the pounding rain on the roof. As he drove, a faint glimmer of light caught his eye in the distance. It seemed to flicker and dance, drawing him closer like a moth to a flame. Intrigued, Sam decided to investigate. Turning onto an old, narrow road, he followed the mysterious light into the heart of the dense forest. The forest road grew narrower, and the surrounding trees seemed to loom over Sam's truck, creating an oppressive atmosphere. The rain had muddied the path, making it challenging to navigate, but the allure of the flickering light urged him on. After what felt like an eternity, the light led him to a clearing where an abandoned and dilapidated building stood. It was a forgotten warehouse, worn down by time and weather. The light was coming from within, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Hesitant but curious, Sam cautiously approached the entrance. The door creaked open as he pushed it, revealing a dark, foreboding interior. He stepped inside, and the door slammed shut behind him, leaving him engulfed in darkness. With trembling hands, Sam fumbled for a flashlight and switched it on. The beam of light danced across the room, revealing old machinery and dusty crates scattered about. But something was off. There was an unnatural stillness, an absence of the usual sounds that accompany such places. As he ventured further into the warehouse, Sam's heart raced, feeling as if 1,000 eyes were watching his every move. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was not alone. Suddenly, a faint whisper echoed through the silence, sending shivers down his spine. "Get out." The voice was soft, almost inaudible, but it sent a chill through his bones. Fear gnawed at Sam's resolve, but he couldn't bring himself to turn back. He needed to uncover the truth behind the mysterious disappearances. As he pressed on, the flickering light led him to a hidden chamber at the heart of the warehouse. Inside, he discovered a series of old, dusty documents scattered across a table. The documents contained information about the missing truck drivers and the valuable cargo they were carrying. There were also eerie symbols and drawings, hinting at a darker purpose. Before Sam could make sense of it all, he heard footsteps approaching. Panic set in, and he extinguished his flashlight, hiding behind a stack of crates. A group of shadowy figures entered the chamber, their faces obscured by darkness. They seemed to be discussing their malevolent plans. Sam's heart pounded in his chest as he tried to remain unseen. He realized he had stumbled upon something far more sinister than he could have ever imagined. These individuals were not only responsible for the disappearances, but were also involved in a dangerous smuggling operation. The gravity of the situation hit Sam like a ton of bricks. He knew he had to gather evidence to expose these criminals, but he also understood that one wrong move could cost him his life. He waited in the shadows, listening intently to their conversation. The group spoke in hushed tones about their latest heist, planned for the following night. They mentioned a high-value shipment of precious gemstones that would pass through Blackwood on its way to an exclusive auction. Sam realized that this was the opportunity he needed to put an end to their malevolent activities. As the conspirators left the chamber, Sam decided to leave the warehouse immediately. He needed to inform the authorities and gather enough evidence to ensure that these criminals would face justice. Quietly sneaking out, he made his way back to his truck, heart still pounding with fear and adrenaline. Driving back to town, he devised a plan to expose the smuggling operation without putting himself at risk. He would contact the local police anonymously, providing them with the information he had gathered in the warehouse. Sam knew he couldn't confront these dangerous individuals alone, and law enforcement would be better equipped to handle the situation. Arriving back at the truck depot, Sam noticed that the rain had finally stopped, but the night was still enveloped in darkness. He found a secluded spot and placed an anonymous call to the police, relaying all the crucial information he had discovered. The next day, a sense of unease clung to Sam as he went about his usual routine. He was aware that the night held uncertainty and danger, but he couldn't afford to back down. As dusk settled over Blackwood, he anxiously awaited the police's response. Later that evening, The police launched a covert operation to intercept the smuggling ring. Sam, still keeping his identity a secret, watched from a distance as law enforcement surrounded the abandoned warehouse. The criminals, unaware of the trap set for them, gathered to execute their plan. With precision and skill, the police stormed the warehouse, catching the smugglers off guard. A chaotic scene unfolded as the criminals attempted to flee, but the officers managed to apprehend them one by one. The precious gemstones they intended to steal were recovered, securing vital evidence for the case. As news of the successful operation spread, the town of Blackwood rejoiced. The reign of terror imposed by the smugglers had come to an end, and while the community hailed the bravery of the police officers, nobody knew about the anonymous hero, Sam, who had risked everything to bring justice to their doorstep. With the smugglers behind bars and the town safe once more, Sam continued his work as a long-haul truck driver, though with newfound vigilance. He became a local legend, known as the mysterious savior who had unmasked the darkness that had plagued Blackwood. As weeks turned into months, the memory of that haunting night began to fade, but Sam couldn't forget the chilling whispers and the shadows lurking in the warehouse. The experience had changed him, making him more cautious, but also more determined to protect others from harm. Though he never revealed his true identity, Sam found solace in knowing that he had made a difference. His actions had not only saved innocent lives, but had also restored the peace and tranquility that had once defined Blackwood. It was a cold and foggy night in the small town of Havenbrook, where the shadows seemed to dance among the dim streetlights. Manny, a middle-aged truck driver, parked his weathered rig outside the local diner. He had been in the freight business for years, but tonight felt different. A sense of unease lingered in the air. As Manny entered the diner, the atmosphere inside mirrored the eerie setting outside. The few customers present huddled together, their eyes darting nervously around the room. Manny took a seat at the counter, greeted by a weary waitress named Eliza. "Evenin', Manny." "The usual?" Eliza asked with a forced smile. "Yeah, thanks, Eliza," Manny replied, trying to shake off the unnerving feeling. He took a sip of coffee and overheard a hushed conversation between two men in the corner. They spoke of recent disappearances in the area, rumors of a sinister force targeting truck drivers and their cargo. Manny's curiosity was piqued, and he decided to inquire further. "Hey fellas, what's all this talk about disappearances?" Manny asked, trying to sound casual. The men exchanged uneasy glances before one of them, named Bill, spoke up. "Ain't sure if it's true, but word's been going around about some truckers vanishing along the old Route 66. They say it's some sort of curse or revenge for a dark secret from the past." Manny scoffed, thinking it was just another local legend meant to entertain. Nevertheless, a tinge of fear crept into his mind as he remembered a strange encounter he'd had on that very route a few nights ago. Later that night, as Manny hit the road, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. The fog enveloped his truck, and he strained his eyes to see through the dense mist. Suddenly, he noticed a pair of dim headlights in his rearview mirror, seemingly following his every move. Panicking, Manny sped up, hoping to put some distance between him and the mysterious vehicle. But no matter how fast he drove, the other truck kept pace, its menacing presence growing ever closer. Finally, Manny decided to take a detour off the main highway, hoping to lose his pursuer in the labyrinth of side roads. But as he took a sharp turn, he lost control of the truck, and it careened off the road, crashing into a ditch. Dazed and disoriented, Manny stumbled out of the wreckage and looked around. To his surprise, the other truck was nowhere to be seen. Was I just imagining things? He wondered, trying to collect himself. As he walked back to the main road, he noticed something strange lying in the grass. It was a torn piece of paper, and on it was a cryptic message written in a shaky hand. "The debt must be paid, or they will take what you hold dear." Confused and frightened, Manny pocketed the ominous note and hitched a ride back to Havenbrook. When he arrived at the truck stop, he decided to confide in his friend and fellow trucker, Pete, about the bizarre events of the night. Pete listened intently, a serious look on his face. "Manny, this ain't no ordinary coincidence. I've heard of truckers vanishing on Route 66, just like those folks in the diner mentioned. There's something dark at play here." "But what do they mean by the debt must be paid?" Manny questioned, trying to make sense of the cryptic message. Pete hesitated for a moment before speaking cautiously. "You remember the accident you had a few years back? The one that nearly cost you your life?" Manny nodded, the memory still fresh in his mind. It had been a near-fatal crash caused by reckless driving, and he had always felt grateful to have survived. Pete continued, "Well, some folks believe that accidents like that create a debt, and if it's not paid, bad things start happening. Some sort of twisted justice or vengeance, if you will." Manny felt a chill run down his spine as he considered the implications of what Pete was suggesting. "You mean to say this is some kind of payback for that accident?" Manny asked, his voice trembling. "I can't say for sure, Manny, but if it is, you need to figure out how to settle that debt before it's too late," Pete warned. Determined to unravel the mystery and protect himself, Manny began digging into his past. He reached out to old acquaintances and learned that the driver involved in the accident had lost his entire family in the crash. Racked with guilt, Manny decided to visit the man and offer his apologies, hoping it might somehow ease the burden of the debt he might owe. On a foggy evening, much like the one before, Manny knocked on the man's door, his heart pounding in his chest. The man answered, his eyes filled with grief and anger. Manny stammered an apology, tears welling up in his own eyes. At first, the man was reluctant to forgive, but as Manny poured out his remorse and regret, a spark of understanding ignited. The two men shared their pain, and Manny promised to do whatever it took to make amends. Over time, Manny and the grieving man developed an unexpected friendship. They visited the graves of the man's family together, finding solace in each other's company. As the weight of guilt lifted from Manny's shoulders, the eerie occurrences on the road seemed to subside. The townsfolk of Havenbrook noticed the change in Manny. He seemed lighter, more at peace. The rumors of the cursed highway slowly faded, replaced by tales of redemption and forgiveness. But despite the newfound calmness in Havenbrook, no one could explain the strange occurrences that continued to haunt other truckers on Route 66. The mystery remained unsolved, leaving the dark secrets of the road to be whispered in hushed tones by those who dared to venture down its eerie path.